Hey everybody, this is Sheets. I have Bobby with me now. We tried to record and we had technical difficulties, but it's good because we got a little 5-minute preview of what we were going to say, and now we can screen. We're streamlined, and we're going to get through it a little quicker. We both did fair in baseball yesterday. I did well in basketball. Of course, Bobby was in the top 5 for a while in the 777. And then things didn't work out. But it's a really interesting slate tonight, and let's just get right into it.
Let's do it. All right. Let's get it started, man. We got the first one. We've got Minnesota, Cleveland. We talked about this already, but we've got Bieber against the Twins. I think he's going to fall below my top pitcher on the slate, and I actually am starting to flirt with the idea of maybe making a bold, not fade, but just like really playing. Not a whole bunch of them today. The strikeout rate is insane. Minnesota even can strike out. I just think they've got enough good patient hitters who have seen him enough and actually have a really good track record against him to where I'm probably not going to make him my priority. Right now I've got him as my third favorite highest spend up, but I don't know how many we're going to be able to get to because of some of these bats.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add is that, I mean, I do think Shane Bieber is a top option. I haven't decided which way I'm going to go yet between him and Cole at the very, very top. And there are others kind of, just below them that require analysis also. From the hitting side, we don't really want to stack Cleveland, but we did talk about maybe doing a one-off or two with who is your favorite, Ramirez and Lindor?
It'd just be Ramirez, Lindor, and then if you wanted to say Luplow, that's fine. It's just not my favorite thing in the world.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Now the other thing is, like, if you were going to fade him, for example, and again, I was like a little kind of in awe, a little bit tilted, whatever it is, because I saw like the winner of the the big one in baseball yesterday, and obviously like Osimo's like the best, right? But I just saw like the winning lineup, and it just made so much freaking sense. I'm like, why don't I have that? And yeah, he's got 150 lineup, so it's kind of easier to just to look back and say, oh boy, it was so easy to have that particular one of the 150. But it was a lineup that it took Trevor Bauer, just stacked Milwaukee power against him, and then had a freaking one pivot of Valdez, which we talked about, all off the Luzardo chalk. And that was just the ends, So I always think about if it's just not the right idea to just always have a stack like that. Like if someone's going to be kind of highly owned, like Bieber, he's not going to be as highly owned as Bauer was, just to take a couple of freaking Minnesota guys and just just get double leverage like that, or is that just being too looking back?
It's fine, especially for the slates like yesterday. It's a solid game theory play for sure. I heard a lot of people talk about it. I still think you're asking for a lot of things to go exactly right, and. In the long term, it's probably a very losing proposition unless you absolutely nail it. But if you do, and that's how you play tournaments. I mean, for example, I guarantee you that was not his target yesterday. I didn't look through the data.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it was just one out of 150 lineups. He probably had like.
I think he had 36 lineups in the 777. I don't think he cashed in one.
Okay.
So I'm not. He might have broke even yesterday with the 100K win, but Osimo is awesome. Like, and it is the right strategy when you're playing those types of tournaments and all that. I'm sorry. I don't want to discredit, because really, honestly, playing multiple lineups, people think it's so much easier. It's actually much, much more difficult.
So hard.
It's really, really hard to try and narrow down when you do that. And that's what it is. And this is not like basketball, where my problem is I included a little extra chalk, and the chalk destroyed me yesterday. The everything else that killed it for me.
Speaking of chalk destroying you, okay, let's talk about Chicago, Detroit, okay? Because this could be, and again, I'm glad we're doing this again. This could be a piece of chalk that destroys people. So like, I'll give you an example. and I talk about this all the time. I think I'm really, really good at knowing my skills and knowing what I look for in things. And when I look at, who looks good and whatever, I'm usually a good indicator of where the public's going to come in. And then what I like to do is kind of fade myself. And that's why I end up winning, right? Is the first thing that I kind of look at was, okay, these Chicago guys are really, really freaking cheap. And they're going to make for a really, really good stack somehow. So the first group of guys that I kind of look to is to get guys like Hayward and Happ. And Bodie again, who's my freaking MVP from yesterday, and just make it work, and then just pay up for Rizzo, pay up for the other for Baez, and just rock the house. But But again, this being an ownership game on a huge slate, maybe that's not the right idea. And I'll turn it over to you in a second because I know you have some opinions on Turnbull specifically. And then yet even on the other side, you have like you watch enough content, like you'll see like people start to recommend these Detroit stacks. Yeah, they're cheap, but the chance that these guys actually like put up runs is just on a huge slate like this. You're just asking for a lot. I mean, you could play Jacoby Jones at 2,300 if you feel like it, or if Isaac Paradis comes in and plays again, he's 2K. But I don't know if you need to do that. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I have no interest in playing. I mean, look, you might find a Detroit play here and there. The truth is, if Chatwood was good to go and not coming off the injured list, I think I would just be gangbusters on Chatwood tonight. I don't know where he is at pitch wise because he had the injury. The guy struck out so far this year. He struck out 23 in 15 innings. Like, it's not against a high strikeout team. This is not a stack that in my opinion you're going to make a lot of money off of almost ever. But they have some cheap options that you can sort of plug into things. Like, if you are going to try and get into stacks, I think you try and play good, actually decent hitters, which would be the Scope, Goodrum. Candelario is okay. Like, you know what I mean? These are not very good hitters. Mike Huckleberry still hits the ball hard, but that's about it. And honestly, doesn't hit the ball very much anymore. I think he's at like 150. Jacoby Jones is cheap. Like, you can make an argument for these guys, but I don't want to do that on this. There's better spots on this slate to attack. On the other side, the Cubs also have good value, and I think that specifically Schwarber and Baez are good plays. But when you start talking about a stack against a pitcher who hasn't given up a home run, historically doesn't give up home runs, and does throw a lot of is a ground ball pitcher, I think you're making a little bit of a mistake. And especially on a slate like this, especially on a lineup that isn't very good. I'm sorry, this is the truth. The Cubs lineup is not very good, especially without Chris Bryant, who at least makes it more better. It's just, I mean, everybody's been terrible basically all year except for they've got like one guy, and I think it's Caratini, who's hitting like anywhere near, above 250, I think even. So, I mean, go ahead. Everybody go ahead and stack them. For me, I'll focus a little bit on Baez and Schwarber, and then I'll throw in a little half here and there in Caratini because of the price, and maybe if I need a Hayward, but I'm certainly not trying to prioritize any sort of stack here. I do think the Detroit bullpen is an argument for a stack in itself, but there's just better places I'd rather attack on this slate.
Yeah. All right, let's move on then. Yankees, Atlanta. You get Garrett Cole, who's a definitely a premier spend up. Even though maybe his strikeout rate isn't as high as it was, he's certainly coming around, I guess. But he's Garrett Cole, man. He's also got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder from getting taken out of the game when he didn't want to in his last start. I got this weird feeling that he pitches as many pitches as he feels like in his start, which certainly helps. Just to throw in a little bit of caution. I mean, we've been kind of, I don't want to say attacking Atlanta, but let's just say that we've been less fearful of Atlanta than usual with Acuna out. But if he's back in, that makes the lineup a little tougher. Secondly, Atlanta could have one of those nice Atlanta hitting weather nights tonight. So that could be something to worry about. So it's not as if Cole's at home in 40-degree weather against the Mariners or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not like a total nut matchup. But I guess that's why he's 10-6 and not 12,000, I suppose. So yeah, he certainly looks like an extremely strong play, and he's one of 4 or 5 top pitchers tonight, really, that you're gonna have to kind of figure out what to do with. I'm not as locked into him maybe as some other people are. On the hitting side, I was about to say before we got cut off that the Yankees are very intriguing tonight. I'm not 100%. I mean, not I would say convinced, but they haven't announced yet that Judge is actually back. I think he might be.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's gonna be back.
Okay. But
I don't know. I don't know for sure.
But in either case, I mean, I guess some of these guys are pretty good, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, this guy's supposedly not terrible, but I would definitely take some shots at Yankees. But again, I don't know how old these guys are going to be. I would definitely be interested in Aaron Hicks for openers at 4K. I would be interested in Luke Voigt at first base. I would play Ursula at third base. So even if you don't really want to play Judge, which you probably should, if he plays, I mean, he's 5,800. I mean, if you want to play some of these pitchers, you're going to have to play 5,800 guys. Is going to be rough business. But these other Yankees are pretty good, you know. So I would definitely take a shot at these guys if they're not too popular.
Yeah, and because like the cheap, you know, you got like guys like Wade or Tiara Estrada you can fill out a stack with because they're cheap. Personally, I like this. I like the I think the Yankees are going to score some runs. Anderson is one of the top prospects. You know how I feel about loving to try and take shots against top prospects. Casey Mize yesterday being a good example of that.
Yep.
But I'm trying to think if you actually try to build, like there's some reasonable price like with Hicks and Voit. But then the bats I would want to get if I'm going to stack on this slate would be Judge and even Sanchez, by the way, just because of the power upside. So Voit and Hicks would be the top two with, you know, I guess Ursula, Judge, and Sanchez as my other three favorites. But you can play Tauchman. You can do a lot of different things. I have a lot of interest in being over the field on these guys. I don't know that they're going to make it as a primary stack for me. I do like stacking against young pitchers. But I'm not like, I don't think it's a must. Again, with Voit being the priority play of anybody, followed by Aaron Hicks. Who, you know, Aaron Hicks is probably going to be the one guy who has pretty decent ownership today.
You like Gardner at all?
Never.
Really?
I would be shocked if Gardner played. He's in like,
Okay.
is he not, I felt like lately he's been out of the rotation.
Okay.
But I don't know. Let me see. Actually, let me take a quick look at that.
You could be right. I just threw him in here just for.
Yeah, I just think that he's not even a baseball player anymore. I don't know what happened to that guy, but he's really he's in 160 this year, sort of platooning right now. Yeah, I could never do it.
Okay. All right, what do you think about Cole?
But having said that, Gardner's going to hit 2 home. He does this all the time. He always has these weird 2 home run games. I like Cole right now. I've got him as the number 1 pitcher. I'm going to wait to see how the what's it called, Chicks? Because I don't love the hitters as much. And yeah, there is some value, but they're not like awesome to me. So I'm not sure how I'm going to go with my pitching game. But as of right now, he'd be my just natural SP1.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so Oakland, Texas. So I'm hearing a lot of stuff. People that want to play Manaea a little bit. I really made him barely a secondary option. I'm going to find it very, and I said the same thing yesterday. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to find it.
You were wrong yesterday. I think Luzardo actually might have outscored Valdez.
You know I guess, but
they're pretty close. I don't know if they did, but
I guess, but I just feel as though, I mean, how can I not play Paddock over him? It's just like it's very tough for me to get to him. So with that said, he probably end up being low owned because if I have struggled with that, probably everybody's going to struggle with that. So maybe he'll end up being the low owned way to go. I'll tell you what I am really interested in. I'm really interested in, and now it was started off in FanDuel, but I might get into on DraftKings too. Really into Matt Olson, all right, and other guys from Oakland. That's kind of what I'm interested in this game. And I know Gibson's fine, you know, whatever it is, but looking for hitters on today's slate is not that easy actually. And I'm kind of into playing a little bit of Oakland, so it would be Olson, Simeon, whatever. And if he makes the lineup, Tony Kemp is like the bare minimum on FanDuel, I think.
He actually made my main lineup because I needed exactly 2K for one guy yesterday.
It's so funny. And I don't care righty, lefty, whatever. I'm gonna have Chapman and Kanha. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty interested in this specifically on FanDuel. But again, maybe I should have him on DraftKings also. So that's my main opinion from this game. I don't know if I can do Manaea. I'll probably end up having to, but maybe not. So that's my opinion, pretty much.
So I'm not worried about all the Joe Schmoes in our industry who just love to do this and, we need to stack against Kyle Gibson all the time. Look at the hard hit rate. This happens every year. Kyle Gibson is not just an above average pitcher, but he's pretty far above average. He's been bad this year. And also people aren't going to look at that matchups he's had. Like pitching in Colorado, you're probably going to give up some hard contact. Having said that, he did pitch 6 innings, 6 1/3 without giving up a home run. Going up against San Diego, you're going to give up some hard contact against that team. You know, like it's just going to happen. And those are his last 2 matchups, and they're just stuck in everybody's mind. Now, he did have a bad game against Seattle before that, but he was very good against this Oakland team with a 20-point score that I'd be very happy with tonight. And I am completely baffled at people who are talking. I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of getting some hard contact, but I think you're going to have some fairly chalky A's against not a bad pitcher, even though he's given up some hard contact. Just slow down, people, with your weird recent stats, and you're using 4 starts as an example, and one of them's against Colorado. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm not going on this Gibson's terrible. What does scare me is that Vegas is starting to act like he is, and that's worrying me. I don't care what other people in our industry think. I do care what Vegas thinks, because their interpretation of advanced numbers is probably better than the people in our industry for this stuff. So I like Matt Olson as a one-off. I like Matt Chapman anytime. I don't look at this lineup and go, oh, I want to play that guy. There's nobody else I want to play other than those 2. Playing Semien at 5,300 at shortstop, and when he's probably like the 15th best shortstop on the slate, is just crazy to me. So I can't do it, man. I can't get behind it personally. And
well, that's why, again, I really didn't even have him written down as a DraftKings option for some reason. So, but
on FanDuel, you can have that conversation, and then you only need to stack 4, which sounds like a weird thing to say, but you only needing to stack 4 is an actual thing, because I don't really want to get it. Like, who am I stacking from this team on DraftKings? It would be the catcher Heim, if he catches, he's 2,500, knowing literally nothing, just get a random guy in there. Olsen and Chapman, who cost a fortune, and then who else am I like? I don't even know. I don't even know if I like anybody else. If Piscotty's cheap, Grossman's been a decent singles hitter this year. You know, you got a guy who the one thing about Gibson this year is he's been a little bit sloppy in terms of like walking people. I'm just not on board with it myself. I do like Olsen and Chapman. Those are my only plays. I like both pitchers a little bit in this game. I don't think you're going to need to play play Gibson. But I am flirting with the idea, because the A's can go on these crazy strikeout binges to get Gibson at 4% on, like, if this was opening day, or even a few weeks ago when he played them and he was like 8.7, I think he was like 30% owned.
He was.
He's 4% owned against a team he just put up 21. Like, it's just, I'm going to go with logic all the time. So I'm going to just err on the side that he's not actually that bad. There's better places to go. And I do like Manaea a little bit. I worry a little bit about his strikeout rate being down, but historically he's been pretty good. And he hasn't been very good against some pretty good matchups this year. So we haven't really seen the outing from him, but this Texas matchup should be great. And we saw it last night. They scored a couple runs in the first inning. They did absolutely nothing after that. And the strikeouts are there. You have one of the best run totals against it on the board at 7,500. So I do like Manaea.
Okay. No interest in any Texas hitters, I presume?
No.
All right. You want to go on to Pittsburgh, Chicago? All right, so now you have a pitcher who's, you can argue it, whatever. He's probably a little worse than Bieber and Cole, but I would argue that he's got a better matchup. Not that Pittsburgh's just Swiss cheese, but I would say that they're probably a better matchup than Atlanta or Cleveland. I don't know. But Giolito is freaking nasty, man. I mean, he just is. I mean, he's just totally flat out nasty, and he's a top option. He just is. I mean, between Cole, Giolito, Bieber, and another guy, I mean, these are 4 guys that can throw just zillions of strikeouts and no hits, and you know what I mean? Like, this is an elite pitcher. So he certainly has to be considered. On the hitting side, I'm probably supposed to just plow in all these guys against Brault, but they're starting to become a little expensive. It's starting to be a little annoying.
They're pricey.
I will say
when you hit home runs every day.
I will say that if I'm gonna play Edwin Encarnacion at 3,800. That's a guy I don't think I'm gonna be able to get away from, but I don't know how I'm going to play the guys I want to play. How am I going to really play $5,400 Tim Anderson, even though he's going to score 30 fantasy points? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do it. So if I play like anything resembling even like a 3-man or a 4-man from White Sox, that's going to be a Paddock Gibson build or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's so I don't know.
you got your two value savers. You got Mendick over here. You got Engel. You got your man Engel, and then you've also got E5 is like incredibly priced.
That's what I said. Yeah.
E5, yeah. Like, so I actually do quite like the White Sox tonight. The power on this team is just tremendous. Against lefties, tremendous. I actually, I don't think Brault's a good pitcher, so please don't get this wrong. I just want to caution everybody, like, he hasn't pitched that much this year, but he still hasn't given up a home run. Like, you know what I mean? Before we just stack away. Having said that, this is a team that can hit home runs all the time, and Brault is a guy who will give up home runs. That's just, I think, a little fluky. I think your priorities are, I actually think that you have to play Tim Anderson if you make the stack. I don't know how to do it because he's just been so good against lefties in these spots for so long now. I don't know how to just avoid him. And so I think we have to just try and find other ways around it if you're going to make the stack. I actually really like Moncada. And by the way, because of their prices, you're not going to get, I don't know if anybody's going to be even double-digit owned on this team, which is awesome. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think so. So
do you know who you could play at, and boy, you want it like it's going to be like a 1% owned guy that you're going to say, oh my God, I got 40 fantasy points, I have 1% owned guy. On DraftKings, you could play Abreu, who's nobody's going to play because if anybody plays anybody from this, it's going to be Encarnacion 3,900.
Don't be too surprised on that one. Here's a side bet. Well, actually, you're probably right because it's going to be closer than you think. I don't think Abreu. I mean, whatever hot streaks are, say whatever you will. This man is on some kind of a tear that.
Is he? That sucks. Okay.
7 home runs in his last 5 games.
Jesus Christ.
That's not an exaggeration. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, that's right. 7 and 5. Oh my goodness. 7 home runs, and he's on top of it. He's got to also hit a couple doubles, and he went 5 for 5, 3 for 4, 4 for 5, 5 for 5, 4 for 4, 5 for 5. This is not 4 for 3 for 5. Like, this is nuts. All right, so yeah, I think he's actually going to end up being a little bit the first baseman people will spend on. So I think those guys are going to have very close ownership either way.
You could, I mean, now that I'm kind of running this freaking stack out here or whatever, I mean, you could make this work actually.
You can make it work. It's definitely even more than a stack though. Like just getting a few of those power bats and the priorities being, number one, Anderson for me, followed by both first basemen, Abreu and Encarnacion. And then I probably would go Moncada next, even though he's not as good against lefties. I don't know how long Brault's going to be in the game. I also think Moncada's ownership will be low, and he's at a more reasonable price considering that for the long term, he's usually the best fantasy producer on this team, him and Anderson. So I'm sort of into Moncada. I wish he was running more. Like he doesn't run anymore, and that used to be like a little bonus you get with him. But I'm sort of into these guys, and Robert and all those guys are fine. Mendick save money, part of the stack. I can definitely get behind this one. McCann, obviously, solid play. I'm good with this whole stack.
Okay. What do you think about Giolito?
I like him. Right now, I've got him slightly ahead of – they're really close. I have him and Bieber very close, so I don't really know how to – I'm having trouble deciding which one, to be honest.
All right. So
I have a feeling about Bieber. I just want to point out, so Bieber, it's only been 130 plate appearances. Obviously, he's gotten better, but he's faced this Twins team through those 130 plate appearances. They're hitting about 320 off of them. I know he dominated them earlier this year, and they've had some power off of him as well. I'm just going to throw it out there that I think that they can – he's still going to get a bunch of strikeouts and all that, but if they can keep him to like 7 strikeouts in 6 innings and get 2 runs, you absolutely are going to be thrilled that you didn't play him. He needs to really get you like 10 strikeouts for you to really feel like you needed to play him. And probably no runs.
All right, so this unfortunately or fortunately, this next one is just too good. This is just too perfect, man. You got Castillo against. Okay, so number one, he's against Milwaukee, who we've been liking to run pitchers against, right? Number two, you're coming off the game where Milwaukee, got to Trevor Bauer, right? So people be afraid of that. Secondly, Castillo himself is coming off of a terrible, terrible game. Didn't get out of the 4th inning and was just awful. And it's just so much easier to play these other guys that maybe is it possible that Castillo just gets lost, or not even lost because it's lost when people ignore him. If people just like intentionally don't play him, you know what I mean, and he just drops to 10%. I don't think that's possible, but I think isn't this the one you're supposed to play in GPPs or no?
Theoretically, yes. In reality, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Is he better than Giolito? Not even close in this matchup. Does he have the strikeout upside? We see it about once out of every 10 times he goes out there. I know his overall strikeout rate is pretty good. He's been really, really good against this Cardinals team specifically.
Reds.
Milwaukee team specifically. This team is a little bit better. Their lineup's improving, obviously, with, it's not like they have Kane back, but Justin Smoke is starting to hit. Ryan Braun is back in the lineup. They're a little bit better than they were before. I'm still not as afraid of them. I can't. There's also an ultimate hitters umpire in this game. I honestly think Woodruff is just as good a play, if not better.
Okay.
I'm not going to play either of them much.
Okay.
I'm surprised if they make 10% of my lineups because I'm not going to take an extreme hitter, and it's just there's so many things, and like you're not getting that much savings on ownership. Like if he was going to be like 5% owned versus 50% instead of like 15 to 25, it's just not enough for me. So maybe he squeaks into one or two of my lineups, but certainly not anything I'm prioritizing. And same time, absolutely zero interest in these bats whatsoever. If you're going to play anybody in this game, it'd be Winker or Moustakas and probably on FanDuel, but like that's pretty much the only guys I can think about.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
I didn't like any of the hitters in this game at all. Nice. So if you didn't get, I don't want to say, not to say the bad, but if you didn't get suckered into the Detroit value or all the Cubs stuff, you have another opportunity in the Kansas City-St. Louis game. So Matt Harvey still is alive, still pitching apparently, and Adam Wainwright is still pitching. And St. Louis is going to just, I think that they're going to eat up just so much ownership. It's just so easy. You know, that's the way I'm looking at this. Like I'm looking at this like, you're going to get again Colton Wong at 3,300. I had the same thing like yesterday. They all freaking did great.
I played them all on FanDuel. That was shockingly they were completely unowned at no cost. Carpenter was 2,700. Tommy Edman playing shortstop was 2,700, or you know what I mean. And these guys just were completely unowned.
Yeah. So all these guys, Wong, Carpenter, Dexter Fowler gets in at 2,800. Tajong 4,100. And then if you do that, you could probably afford to pay up for Goldschmidt if that's what you want to do, or Edmund. And it's going to be uber chalky, man. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do it. This is going to be one of those where I just don't want to play Cole Paddock, for example, with St. Louis guys. And then on the other end of the equation, you have Kansas City, who I have this weird feeling they're going to get. Nah, maybe not. Maybe they won't get ownership. I'd much rather, because me being the public, I'd much rather go after Matt Harvey than Adam Wainwright, who at least has some ability to do something, I guess.
I mean, Adam Wainwright looked like a good pitcher.
Yeah, so Kansas City, just from a straight value perspective, you want to do a one-off of Ryan O'Hearn again, 2,500? I mean, perfectly okay, I guess. Gordon, Yeah, so I guess Kansas City's not going to get as much attention, but St. Louis certainly is. So I mean, I think it's a major question on this slate. What do you think about these guys?
So I don't mind a little bit. I mean, first of all, I do think they have probably the best matchup on the board. So
yeah,
it's kind of hard just to ignore them. And the prices are reasonable. The ownership will be there. But one thing is you can get different enough with some guys. Like no one's going to play Dexter Fowler, and I'm not saying it's a play, but you can use him as part of something. I think Tommy Edman is going to become like unowned or very low owned. I actually think Tommy Edman is the preferred play here. I mean, Colton Wong didn't play last night.
No.
Because the announcer sat there talking about how much he's struggling.
He's on a 7-game hitting streak, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't understand what the hell they're talking about. Like, I mean, they literally kept saying it too. And yeah, for the year, they've all been struggling, but like, they've also haven't been playing because of COVID. So I do like these guys. I will probably be a little bit ahead of what should be a decently chalky field, but I'll just go higher on guys like Carlson or Bader. Harrison Bader is the one you can probably go to. I don't know that I like. And again, in this game, what's odd is that you've got an excellent pitchers umpire in Jeremy Riak. Like, it was a spot where I would want to go, but you look at the projected ownership, and I don't know. Right now, I guess I'm a little ahead of the field, but I was going to make it more of a priority earlier in the day. Now it's probably looking at the ownership and the way it's going to work out. People are going to be all over this.
They will. I mean,
yeah. But I still think you can get a little different by playing the Bader guys and stuff like that. Who, has pop and stuff. Like, I mean, he was the one who did all the scoring last night, didn't he? I felt like he did anyway, because he was the one I didn't have. But yeah, I mean, he's put up 14, 23, and 21 in his last 3 games. I don't care if he's batting ninth. Like, that's how you get a little bit different on these kind of ones. Just try and play the really, really low on bottom part of it if you're going to play it. So I can get behind this, but I would just encourage you to try and get different with one of those other guys you're playing if you're going to make the stack.
Okay.
What you can do, by the way, and something that I've used to do with St. Louis when they were a good offense consistently, is play Yadier Molina is always going to be cheap on FanDuel, and using him as your cheap piece is like at very little ownership. He's not a guy who has a ton of power, obviously, but he's a good enough hitter that can have like those 3-4 RBI games. And as a part of a stack on FanDuel, because the runs and RBIs mean so much more, I feel like Yadier Molina at a very cheap price is a guy you can sort of use, even though it sucks to use a first base spot, but like you do a utility spot in general. He's like 2.2K over there. 2% owned last night, for what it's worth.
Okay, so Seattle, San Diego, and this is just perfect. Okay, this is just like the perfect bust candidate. I mean, like, you have Paddock, who people would love to have a $700-800 pitcher on today's slate. Okay, Paddock has all kinds of freaking publicity, right? I mean, like, he's just, everybody loves Paddock. Great prospect. They massaged his innings last year. Doing a little bit better this year. He's becoming, I think, a better pitcher this year, even though he's not, striking everybody out, right? And he's against Seattle. And if it's not bad enough that he's against Seattle, the one guy that people always say, well, the one guy I'm afraid of getting a home run, Vogelbach, he's gone. Okay, they traded him to Toronto, right? So this is just like the ultimate perfect example of a guy who's just going to bust. That said, and not to mention he's going to be like 40% up. So yeah, I'm probably going to have to play him, even though, again, you know how I feel about trying to target Seattle. He rates to be a really, really strong play, and he's going to be a part of my losing lineups. Also, San Diego as a hitting team, again, for on a slate where, I don't want to say starve or whatever. I'm looking for good hitting opportunities. I don't know if I can get to a full stack, but I just will inch the 3 guys. Tatis is always good, and then Ty France is cheap here, and Grisham. Those are like my 3 guys that I might start with if I attack San Diego. I honestly was going to wait to hear what you said about them because they got to get owned too, I suppose. But
why? Yeah, right. Well, no, they don't. I mean, look, this Gonzalez thing is getting ridiculous. If I'm going to hear anybody else recommend a stack against this guy, I'm just going to tell them to go shove it because it has never worked ever.
So who are we playing today?
He's the most popular guy in the world. No, I'm just saying, I just want to just go on a Marco Gonzalez thing. First of all, I think Marco Gonzalez is extremely in play. I think he's a very strong.
Oh my God. Okay.
I don't have any idea why anybody would even question this. This guy just dazzled the Dodgers and Angels twice. I don't know why we're afraid of, look, this is a good team against lefties, but this is as good as this lineup is, they aren't, and at their prices and everything, you can't really play that much of them. But I will have, you have to have the obligatory multi-lineup 10% Tatis, potentially 5 to 10% Machado against the lefty. Same thing with Will Myers. Those are basically the guys. I don't even know who else is going to be in the lineup. I guess they will still play Grisham because they're trying to give him the time, but I'm not interested in a lefty Grisham. Although Marco Gonzalez can be reverse splitsy, whatever. I mean, look, maybe we don't need the savings, maybe we do, but this guy is 6.6K, and 3 of his 5 starts has put up 27 or more against against 2 of the 5 most difficult matchups in baseball for lefties, probably 2 of the 4, maybe. I don't know, right up there. And in San Diego, it's not far. He also had to face Houston too, so his numbers, as good as they are, could be 1,000 times better than they have been. His strikeout rate has been good. It's what is he at? 11, 18, 20. So he's at 26 in basically 29 innings, a little below once an inning. Not what you want ideally, but you got a team that can strike out. He's going up against. I'm interested to see who the umpire is going to be for this game because I think that will allow me to take that wild card pivot. And by the way, I do think smart people are going to be on this. Like, it's one of those things where Michael Gonzalez is going to be like 2% owned in the million person thing, but then he's going to be like 10% owned in like, or 8% owned in like some of the single entries things or something like that. I actually think he's really in play. I really do. And I'm tired of people just wanting to pick on this guy just because he's a non-glamorous lefty. So, you know, you can always play the Padres against that, but I'm not as into it. And I think it's really hard not to argue that Paddock is the natural SP2, certainly if you're playing cash games. But I guess if you want like a word of caution, maybe it's that the only time he hit 20 fantasy points was the first game of the year. But if you want something to go in his favor a little bit, he's had to face the Dodgers twice and Diamondbacks twice, who both have really good lefties. Seattle does not. So this should be a much better matchup for him than one he's faced so far. I think that you're going to have to – Paddock is, you know, if he's going to be on 30%, I want 40 right now. That's sort of where I'm at. But I do want 15% or so, or 10 to 20, somewhere in that range on Marco Gonzalez.
That's really interesting.
The guy's just not a bad pitcher.
Yeah, maybe he's not a bad pitcher. This slate is that's a rough way to go, man.
It's interesting. It allows you to do the bats thing. No, look, it's probably like 10 to 15, 10 to 20, whatever, somewhere in that range. But I mean, he's a pretty decent pitcher for the situation. It's just there's too many good options. The truth is there probably is too many good options for me to end up with much of them, but that's my plan, is to have him that much.
Trying to think of how many Seattle stacks I'm going to have tonight.
Oh, my God.
Well, Jake Fraley's 2,100.
I didn't even think about one hitter from Seattle.
You're not going to play a Shed Long, Jake Fraley, Evan White, Austin Nola?
No.
No, I guess not.
I guess, like, no, there's nobody who makes any sense. I guess.
No.
Where is Fraley batting?
Probably 10th. I don't know.
All right, yeah, I just can't do it, man. I think
they called him up though because to replace what's his name who's hurt, and now that Voldemac's out too. I mean, like there's slots. They got to put 9 people in there somewhere. I mean, like
we all know Corey Seager's having a great year, but like Kyle's also having a pretty good year, and he's the only guy I could consider. Yeah. All right.
All right. Colorado, Arizona. My first look at this slate. So to me, there are 2 very natural pivots off of Paddock. One being, what's his name, Minaya, or you could even say Gibson, but one being Minaya and the other being Marquez, right? And I've had some success, some failures, whatever, with Marquez. And yes, on the one hand, it's nice to get him on the road, but that really never bothered me with him one way or the other. You know what I mean? I didn't care too much where he was pitching. So I do have some interest in certain lineups going with Marquez. Now, again, Arizona is certainly not the easiest team to face. You know what I mean? Like, they're not garbage cans. But I do think that in some lineups, he certainly has upside. He certainly can strike people out when he's rolling. So I do think that just from a lineup construction and game theory perspective, I think he is a natural pivot off of Paddock. With that said, I mean, you could make a case for the same guys in Arizona that you made a case for yesterday. Like, you could go back to Peralta, you can go back to who's the other guy, Calhoun. You could play him. Go back to Christian Walker, and then you could finish it up with Marte. You know what I mean? Like, you could certainly play some Arizona guys. On the other end of this game, I have interest in Colorado bats too. And again, this is not something we usually do, right? Take Colorado away from Colorado. But you talked me into it a little bit yesterday, and I played a little yesterday. And what's his name was really weird. So Blackman was scratched, right? Out of yesterday. I don't know what he's doing today, but I mean, Colorado again, they could be a team to maybe go out, like Trevor Story. Nolan Arenado. I think the two of them could be those could be some two overspends that you can make at the infield position. And I don't know, maybe Colorado could be a target. I don't know. This game feels sneaky for some reason.
Yeah, I don't understand why the total is so high in this game, and it's freaking me out on the Colorado. Like, why is Marquez projected? First of all, why are they even? Why isn't Colorado a favorite in this game? That doesn't make any sense to me. So right away, I think immediately, I don't usually like to bet baseball, but this is an obvious spot where you should be betting Colorado. They're going to win this game so much more often than they're not. They're a much better team in general with much better starting pitcher and a better bullpen against a terrible starting pitcher. So I'm all in. That's just regular straight bets. You got to throw away some of Marquis, whatever you want to pronounce his name. You got to throw away some of his stats because it is hard when you have to pitch half your games in Colorado, and he's good considering when you're grading it for a guy who's in Colorado. But he just had to face Houston and Colorado. Now Texas is not the toughest team in the world, but he had to face them. It's tough to pitch in Colorado. And you look at him on the road this year, 15, 28, and 19. Not like the greatest thing in the world, but we know the strikeout upside is there. He's had 6, 8, and 9 in those games. He's going to have more strikeouts away from home. Arizona's not like the dream strikeout matchup or anything, but they're okay. The price seems too low, and I'll tell you what, if there's one pitcher, I actually think he's got a better chance than Paddock of putting up a 10K plus type of pitcher performance today. So the more I think about it, maybe we're making a mistake unless the roof is going to be open, which is the only way I can understand why the total for Arizona is this high. Because when they played in Arizona, and I believe that was earlier this year, that might have been last year though, I remember there was a total, it was last year. There was a total in the game where Arizona was still projected to only have about the same amount of runs they do tonight, and tonight's in Arizona. So I really don't understand why it's this high. It has me a little bit worried about why Vegas doesn't like Marquez, but I'm just going to say I love him. I agree with you about the Colorado bats. I think that they are expensive, but you got to have like two of your favorite one-offs have got to be Story and Arenado. The problem is these guys are going to be like mega chalk, which is really weird to take these guys outside of Colorado as mega chalk. Because we talked about other stacks, but there's no must-have positions. These are the guys who people are going to gravitate for at those positions, third and short. That's my personal take. So you could play like a Brendan Rodgers as a cheap part of this, if you wanted to get a little stacky in here. I don't mind a stack at all.
What about your man? What about Matt Kemp?
Yeah, Matt Kemp is 2.8. Let's go ahead and play Matt Kemp. Absolutely, fine with it.
Hampson, you like him?
I tend to like him better. And what's that?
You like Hampson at all?
No, maybe a little bit. Like he's fine,
Okay.
I don't think that much of him as a player, but he's fine. Like you throw him in there. I think if Blackman's in the lineup tonight, which he was late scratch last night, he's interesting. As in a lefty spot, but he's a lot to pay for. So it's just because of the prices, people aren't going to go crazy for it. So I guess you just go Story, Arenado, and Rodgers and Kemp would be my preferred ones. And that way you can do a cheap stack because you balance out the Arenado Story with the Kemp and Rodgers.
Okay.
And you get a little bit of correlation there with a 2, 4, 6, 7. It's not like you're having like a 1, 4, 7, 9 or something.
Yeah. On the other side, do you like any of these Arizona hitters?
No. Okay. I actually just as you're pulling up the next game, I'm going to take a quick look for it because I really just want to take a quick look at Marquez has faced this team plenty of times where we should have a pretty good. I mean, look, people can say that BVP doesn't work. When you start getting into hundreds of appearances against an entire team, it absolutely makes a difference. All right, let's see. 153. That's pretty a lot. And they've been fine against him. Is the answer. Who's really hit him well is David Peralta, by the way. 14 for 32 is it's impressive. Not a lot of power, but still, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, David Peralta is basically the David Peralta and Eduardo Escobar is 8 for 11 somehow off of them. So those would be your priority plays, I think. They also are cheap and make the most sense anyway.
Okay, so how do you play? So how do you play these Dodgers? I mean, if you wanted to play them, they're so. I don't want to say they're so expensive, but it's pretty rough, right? I mean. Bellinger 5,700, Betts 6,200. Cueto's not the worst pitcher in the world. We talked about before. So already had a decent game against the Dodgers. Um, and of course, what this leads me to is there any chance that nobody plays the Dodgers because of it? No way, right? I mean, like there people are going to have to play them. I just didn't know who I was going to play.
It's keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess my first priority would be, I don't know, Pollock as a righty. I don't know what to do.
Pollock is cheap.
Jason Spade. Look at those.
So Corey Seager is the second best shortstop option on the slate to me.
Okay.
Behind Tim Anderson, and they're similar price, and I think I would give a little bit of the edge to probably to Seager, to be honest with you. I agree that Cueto, like, it's not going to work though forever. You're not going to be able to keep just running out there against the Dodger team and shutting them down. It's not going to happen, and so I don't know, man. I my natural leans were Pollock, Seager. These prices on some of the other guys, you're right. It's a little tricky. You're not kidding around. Like, oddly, like, Will Smith is actually a really good catching option. He should be able to hit a guy like Cueto. And Will Smith's a good hitting catcher. He just bats ninth, so people don't think of him as much, and he's expensive usually.
Sure, Jacques will get the start. I mean,
yeah, I think you wait to see how the lineup comes out, but the initial, assuming that it goes at the way that I've got it projected, I think Seager, Pollock, and like Will Smith are the first guys who popped out to me. It's really tricky with the other ones. I mean, you can make an argument for Peterson, but on a pretty big slate, do you want to do that batting late in the order, not hitting the ball, and he's 4.2, like, and he's going to platoon possibly. Muncy, I guess Muncy is the other one. Like, I don't know, man. I'm not as excited about the Dodgers, and honestly, lately I've learned my lesson. I try not to get too excited about too many teams before I see them roll out their lineups. But I think with the Dodgers, we can sort of predict most of the lineup, like Kike or Taylor, if they were somehow in the lineup batting higher in the order than you expect, that would be a big difference. Or if Matt Beatty or something like that was 2,800 and playing. You know what I'm saying?
Now, there's no way you could play I shouldn't say no way, but any interest in Urias or no?
What's his price? I didn't even look.
It's really expensive.
No, yeah, there's no way. Maybe on FanDuel or something, but even still, like, there's just so many good pitchers today. And honestly, I think that's going to be the part where I'm going to have to try and whittle down. And I have no interest in any San Francisco bats at all. If you had to play anybody, it would be Flores, or it would be one of these cheap. I guess. Oh, Joey Bart is like nice. Cheap. Now he's not cheap anymore. Darren Ruff. These guys are just so cheap. You can take a shot at a cheap home run, but they're not exciting plays. So yeah, after all that, we don't really have a great must-have stack, huh?
So it looks like, first of all, we did a great job even with the cutoff, because we have that other thing in like 9 minutes. It's perfect. Yeah. Perfect timing. I will tell you that the having gone through this, I think that the stack that has the most this is my opinion, that has the most upside that you could actually have a chance to get in is maybe that White Sox stack. I didn't think at first that I was going to be able to get it in. And yeah, I'm not going to be able to get every position where I'm loving it. I have to say, but you might end up having to do. Maybe I end up having to play one of those freaking Tigers after all, or one of those Cardinals after all. But as a one-off, I don't really mind. You know what I mean? So that's. I guess if I had to pin me down, that's my favorite. But I'm still. There's still the issue with the pitching that I really just have no idea. I would say no idea. I have an idea. I just don't know where I'm gonna land. I just don't know what to do with all these. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like really, really good pitchers that all are going to cost money.
Right. Yeah. I think maybe even an option, because you could try and take I'm scared of Minnesota or whatever approach. That might actually be a good option tonight, and maybe just going down a little bit at pitcher, or saying F it. At least one of these guys is probably going to crush their thing. Yeah. Let's make sure we have one of those guys. So it is tricky, man. I'm telling you, I told you when I first saw this is not an easy slate. It's easy to know where the chalk is, and it's easy to know what the cash game structure would be. But it's hard to know who you really want to play, especially with these ownerships sort of adjust pretty accurately going towards who you want. And the good job by DraftKings by getting the pricing a little bit tricky. On FanDuel, you really can play almost everybody, so the pitching just pick your favorite pitcher.
So on DraftKings, I guess it's a chalkier like GPP type build. I mean, you're going to have Cole and Paddock, and then you'll have Cardinals and Cubs, right? Pretty much, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right.
Cardinals, Cubs, and Dodgers. It's going to be a lot of Dodgers.
You think so?
Yeah, I think the White Sox are the one who gets overlooked, which is really weird to me.
Yeah.
Because usually people love to go against guys like Brault, and I actually don't usually love to. But I just think if you're going to keep a guy who can't blow anybody, the ball past anybody, who's not going to pitch that long, and you're going to face these righties, it's just hard for me to see the White Sox not hitting a few bombs in this game. It might come a little bit, fourth or fifth inning, but this team can hit home runs. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And anyways, that's sort of where I'm leaning.
All right. Well, sounds good. I think we're done.
All right, guys. Hey, that was great. Thanks so much for tuning in. We are going over to do a live show now. We will say good luck to everybody out there, and we'll see you at the top leaderboards.
Okay.
All right. Sheets,
I'll wait for you. I'm going to stop it. I'll wait for your link. I'll get this thing uploaded.
Awesome, buddy.